The truth about the no running rule, I feel like this new rule was, brought up about Devin Haney. It's been brought about because of William Skoll and Canelo, that fight. Shakur Stevenson, you could argue. But I feel like, for me personally, Shakur's always called the runner the track star, but I don't think the no running rule is directed at Shakur because he doesn't really run. Like in that De Los Santos fight, I understand that, but like real boxing fans also know Shakur had a hurt hand, so he basically did that with one hand tied behind his back, and it's honestly impressive because De Los Santos is a sneaky and very dangerous fighter. He punches hard, and I feel like for Shakur to be able to do what he did against De Los Santos, even though, yeah, of course, we all saw him excessively move, but he still beat De Los Santos. Like, that's not, any slouch to beat with an injury, basically using one hand. And the way Shakur did it was impressive. I think it's more so for, Turki Al-Sheikh. He didn't like what he saw with Canelo and William Skoll. Obviously, Skoll, most of us believe he just went in there to get a paycheck. And that's a lot of, Canelo's opponents. But at least, guys like Berlanga, guys like Charlo, they stand, in the pocket a little bit longer than a guy like William Skoll. And then Devin Haney, obviously, I think he's also directed at that, no running rule. He's targeted by that rule because in that Jose Ramirez fight, yeah, he won and dominated every round, but he also showed some excessive movement. Like, he didn't want to engage. And I think a lot of that's mental. I want to see Devin Haney back in the ring before I really call him, like, boring. A lot of people, like I said, they don't want to see Devin Haney anymore. A lot of fans and, people within the boxing industry and community that I've talked to, they say they don't want to see Devin. I still want to see him, one more time before I really make a solid claim on, whether or not I think he's ever going to be the same or if, Devin Haney is just damaged goods at this point. Because I feel like, he wasn't supposed to look good in his comeback fight, fighting a guy that was on PEDs technically, so I feel like I have to see Devin one more time before I can certainly say that he's not going to be the same, that I don't think he's going to be the same, because I still think Devin has something in the tank, but it's all about, mentally recovering and shaking off the cobwebs. I think that's what he did against Jose Ramirez. Honestly, I was expecting Devin to look as bad as he did, but like, it wasn't even bad at the end of the day. We can't really say bad because he got the job done. It just wasn't exciting because he was running around a lot. And I don't think, boxing needs a no running rule. I just think that people have to decide what they want, at the end of the day. For criteria of judging boxing, you say effective punches landed. Are they really effective, or is it just like a jab and then you're moving and you're basically moving the whole fight? But I feel like Devin still, he's a very talented fighter. He has a good arsenal, and it's all about him mentally. Like I said before, fans have to just figure out what they want to watch and what they don't want to watch. If you don't like how Devin Haney fights, if he continues to fight, with excessive movement and doesn't want to engage, then just don't watch him fight. I think he'll understand that he's not a draw if he continues to fight that way, but he might just care about winning. And if that's all Devin wants to do, then by all means, keep moving, keep doing what he needs to do to just get the win. And, no special effects like Floyd Mayweather says, but don't expect that you're, to be the A side. You can't expect to be the A side if people don't really care to see you fight, or if people don't care about what you say. I feel like that's part of, the business of boxing, and his father has done a tremendous job of doing that, promoting Devin and allowing Devin to focus on the actual fighting. But, the no running rule, in my opinion, isn't really going to be useful, in my opinion, because the whole purpose of, Devin's style is to take the least amount of punishment. So we can't say, boxing's about being smart and then say, take and put and implement a no running rule so that we can get an actual fight. Because if you implement a no running rule, we're going to see more knockouts, and you might see guys like Devin get hurt more often. But is that what boxing fans really want? Or do we like the sweet science, the art of hit and not get hit? I think it has to be a balance of both, and I don't think a running rule is necessary. I think it's just like, just let boxers do what they do, and if they're boring, if we find out that Shakur excessively moves, if we find out that Devin continues to excessively move in the future, just don't watch these guys, and there won't be any more to talk about. The thing is that they're winning. At the end of the day, if you're losing like William Skoll did, then those guys, they're gonna fall off the face of the earth. But guys like Shakur, guys like Devin, the way they fight, it's not all about moving. It's not that they're moving the whole time. They're not running around. They're throwing punches still and winning rounds. So you can't really hate that much. The most boxing fans can do if you don't like that style, you don't have to watch it, and you know, just pay attention to whatever fighters you like. If you guys like more offensive fighters, just watch Inoue, watch Tank, watch Terrence Crawford, Virgil Ortiz, Boots Ennis, you know, those guys that are a little bit more flashy and offensive and aggressive. You know, these guys are pure boxers, and they're not going to be the type to engage. You know, if you think that Shakur or Devin are really going to change, they're not going to change, because this is who they are and this is how they win. You know, I'm not saying it's the most exciting style in the world, but they're really good at what they do. You know, they come from that Floyd Mayweather school of boxing, where it's like the least amount of punishment you can take and still get the job done, the longer you're going to last in the sport. That's the science, and that's the rule book and study book by which Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson operate. So you can't, as a boxing fan, expect them to become knockout artists. It's not going to happen. You know, these guys are going to get in there, get the job done, and then walk out with their paycheck, and they don't really care what fans have to say. You know, and that's just how boxing is, and I think just leave it like that. You know, you don't have to be a Devin Haney fan, but me personally, I'm going to continue to watch Devin. I like watching Devin. I like watching Shakur, but, you know, that's the risk of getting in there with the big names. You know, once we see them in the big fights, the mega fights, and there are guys that can time these kinds of fighters. You know, they know how to attack boxers. They know how to time, you know, and catch the rhythm of these fighters. Guys like Tank, guys like Teofimo Lopez, the guys that are more offensive and explosive, those fights are very compelling. It's because you're seeing guys like Shakur, guys like Devin against other opponents that aren't that good. You know, Jose Ramirez, all these guys, you know, Shakur fought an electrician. I feel like once they get to that elite level, people aren't going to talk about running, because at the end of the day, it's boxing. You know, the best and most elite fighters are going to be able to catch on to what Shakur and Devin do. And if they don't, then that's just, you know, even more praise to Shakur and Devin for the talent that they have with hit and not get hit in the sport of boxing. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.